Welcome back to that build. Today I'm continuing on, obviously, with the Beetle chassis. I've done the clean off now. It's considerably better. There's still a bit of grime and debris, mostly concentrated at the front section. It was completely coated, but along the main section now here, I can touch it without getting completely filthy. Having said that, there are a few little speckles here and there still. Along here, the tackiness still does exist. It's just the fact of the matter. I really need to deck that down. Good suggestion from Air Cooled Andy about using a knotted angle grinder wheel. So I will be actually investing in one of those, getting one of those and tackling a few other spots, but not just yet. Another good suggestion from Murphy, thank you very much as well to Murphy for suggesting some oven cleaner, which I might actually use on that front end just to really get the remainder off. It's not so much of an issue because realistically I'm still in two minds about whether I go to the extreme on cleaning this chassis down. It just depends on how well I can do the center section, which is my main focus. Everything else outside of that isn't really of great concern because it's not going to be visible. This tunnel, I do want it to be exposed, it will be visible, and of course that does include these ridges here, this entire section. The fiberglass kind of lips over, but then of course the main inside section here, that will also be visible, and I want that to be colored, painted, etc. and so on. So yeah, I'm still tossing up exactly where to go with that. So I'm going to leave the tape on for now, just in case I do decide to get a bit inspirational with some oven cleaner and go a bit further with it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to leave it. So that will pretty much do for the cleaning for now. What we're going to start on is the floor pans. Again, this time we're going a bit further. I am going to start to line out these ridges here. So where it would actually weld onto, put them on, do a bit of a mark so I can see exactly how much of a ridge I have. That way I know where to drill. Start putting in my holes through there so I don't go too far in, too far over, etc. and so on. One thing I will need to do as well, mostly on this side, the floor pan was a little bit wavy, and whether that's due to poor storage, it does actually look like it's had a bit of an impact. Something's either landed on it or it's landed on something and it's kind of distorted. It's not sitting 100%. We'll get on with the build and start putting the floor pans back onto the chassis again. This is pretty much the issue I was talking about regarding to the wave that has happened with this particular panel. A lovely dent right here, which I don't know if it's just been sitting weirdly otherwise, but whether that has actually impacted the entire thing. End of the day, it is completely up and down, mostly in this point here and this point here. So pushing these down does become a bit more flat, but there is still a gap underneath. The other thing is as well, these are cheap panels. I mean, I got these extremely cheap, super stupidly cheap. So I'm not complaining with that, but they're not by any means accurate, perfect, fitting well. I don't really know. Like along here, and I thought, wow. Anyway, yeah, I thought maybe my build-up of weld, which I talked about before, might have been an issue, but again, it's kind of not even touching that, nowhere near it. So it's just, this whole section here, where it has the build-up of body filler seam sealer anyway, I think that's kind of pushing things out, but then this is as far as it can go here. So it's just cheap, really. That's all there is to it. It's just cheap. Not too bad, still work with it. Again, not complaining, price was insane. So there is that. Just got to work around it, remove a bit more seam sealer in order to make it fit a bit more flush. And then just hammer down some of the high points. The drill points along back here, again, just not ideal. They're actually sitting a bit taller in some spots. Just got to get the hammer and just make them all nice and flat. So I'll start to go about doing all that. I will eventually get there. I want to get these pans on. Frustrating, all these little problems that keep coming up, but you get that. Yeah, that's metal. That ain't going anywhere. I've tried to grind this section down because of the high point that was there. Having it all pressure washed and everything now and cleaned, I can see the metal very, very clearly. And what I have is 3 steps. So I've got the base plate here, which has kind of been lipped up and over. I've then got the intermediary, which is most likely the, I think they refer to the Pope's hat, and then the base of the tunnel. So instead of being all nice and flat and flush, I've got a layer. Right. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. So this section along here, this entire lot is actually seam sealer. So it is pushing the floor pan further away, which needs to be addressed. I'll go about scraping this right back and seeing if this has anything either. This is a little wavy along here too. I'll try to flatten this out first, and then I'll try to sandwich the 2 base pieces at the back here together so I actually know they're nice and uniform, and then I'll start working along the side, get it all secured, get it all nice in there, and then we can see about tack welding it in. So just to bring things a bit closer to sitting closer to the tunnel itself, sitting closer to the tunnel. Yep. Just going to trim a little bit off this here so I can get much closer there. I've still got a good gap, probably the same amount of gap between the space here to over there. So I'll just trim that little piece off. Like a little bit further back though, just on a shallower sort of run. That looks good. Up here, I think I'm reasonably okay. It's just a matter of hammering this down so it's all level. That hole sitting nice and perfect as it should. I think maybe once that's done, this should be okay. So I'll do that first and then move on to this back section. Oh yes. That's nice. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Yeah. Up there's really nice now. It sits near perfect. That is exactly what I wanted. Back here, the further we get away, I'm starting to retreat from the tunnel. There's still a fair bit of metal there. I mean, it's not like it's minimalistic, but there is a gap, especially right here. It kind of meets back up. It's just wavy metal. I mean, that's all it is. Because it's stretched and then cut to a shape, it's just not ideal as such. But I just want to try and get this as close as possible, right to the very edge, and just got to figure out how to get a bit closer here. Back at this section, I mean, I can't really do much more. It's sitting flush. So I don't really know. I don't exactly think I can pull that out any further and jig it down. I might just have a bit more of a look at that though. So once again in a situation where I'm hard clamped against this section and not a lot I can really do. It's just the way it's going to fit. Further over against the sidewall tunnel, again a little bit closer, still a gap. I don't think I'm going to get it 100% because I can't make it any longer, obviously. But by the same account as well, I can't really make it wider here. I could, but I don't think I want to go the route I'm thinking in my head. Plus, it wouldn't center this hole. Not that this hole really makes a difference for me. It's not a proper Beetle chassis, so the holes themselves I can make my own when I redo the space frame base. I might sit on that one and think. I might do the outlines first because I've got to find how much metal I have along that side channel. I'm not too worried about the front. I'm going to measure the backs, just do a marker along there and see exactly how much meat I actually have to drill holes to, then do some welds. Crude as heck. Panel beaters the world over are shaking their heads right now. Rightly so. But it is sitting flush. When I push it down, obviously. Once I start to get a few tacks in, the rest of it should pretty much fold in. And of course, heat will start to distort. But much like my last efforts, I basically do might do every third or fourth, just initially. Might do every third actually, that makes more sense to me. And then yeah, more or less, once I start to actually get that all tracked out, it should all sit really nice and comfortably. So I'm happy with that. That is pretty much where I want it to be. So that is more or less done on this side. Carry on to that side, and that'll pretty much do me for today. So a bit more progress, not exactly as much as I would have liked, but nonetheless it is progress. I will get these floor pans welded on next week. It is an absolute in this case. For now though, I'm just going to sit and enjoy the view from under here. Yeah. Anyway guys, that's going to do it again today. So thank you very much for joining me. As always, like, subscribe, comment below, etc. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbour that if he ever wants to do something, drill once, then measure, and then properly drill after that. It's just a lot easier that way. Anyway guys, until next time, cheers.